learn poetry, much like you were doing before with troubadours. And you get to learn how to carve meat with a nice paper. That's your job. And then, if you were brave enough, if you had earned it, if you learned all these lessons well, age 14 to 16, you became squire, which is what I am right now. And besides all the courtly stuff you've learned, the manners, the dancing, all that, now you are learning how to fight. You're learning armor, arms, that sort of thing. You're going into battle with your knight. Makes you learn how to do this. And you still got to carve his meat at the table. And then after 2 more years, if you've been brave enough, if you earned it, and you were still alive, about age 21 to 25, you would be teenage knight. Which will tie into a bit what I'm wearing. Front, the weapon we're all most familiar with, it is the cruciform broadsword. It's called cruciform because it looks like a crucifix or a cross, as you can see on the palm. This is a standard crusader's weapon. It looks a lot shorter than it probably will in movies or in the that you shall see, because for a good blade that you can control, it has to be about your arm length. Especially because this isn't meant to be used in hand, and it's for slashing. And this also is a very expensive piece, and as a squire, your knight is the one that's outfitting you. He's paying for your arms, your weapons, things like that. Which is why I'm not wearing a full knightly suit of plate, as you can see over here on our display. A full suit of plate was very expensive. It was as much a status symbol as it was meant to protect you. So I'm wearing something a little simpler. This is more what would be worn underneath the plate. What I'm wearing is a chainmail tabard, which is called 4-in-1 chain, and a little bit later you can come out and have a see it a bit closer. But it means every single circle that's here goes into the other 4 times, which makes this tabard, which makes this full coat. And then underneath it, I'm wearing a leather jerkin. The leather will protect a little bit more and also get a little bit more cushioning when I get hit. If one of these chain links pop and it's exposed underneath, I have an extra layer of leather, which will protect me more. And then underneath that is my ambition, which is a padded jacket, which you wear under all armor to protect you from blunt force impact, like heavy hits. Because these types of weapons were heavy. Swords, maces, things like that, things that were meant to crush or hit. Most of the time, people wouldn't die on the battlefield. They'd die 3 days later from internal injuries. But again, because this weapon is so expensive, this chainmail is so expensive, if I might not be using that, I'd be using things that are more like this, double daggers. Here's which are cheaper, and they're a bit more mobile. Now, there were several different types of knights. For instance, a lot of you have probably heard of paladins, either being in video games, stuff like that. The term paladin was actually invented by Charlemagne in the beginning of the 10th century. Okay. The paladins, named after the hill of Palestine, were his elite guard, and they were meant to be the best of the best. So they were the most chivalrous, most honorable knights, named paladins. And one more bit of trivia before I hand this off is something that might not look quite right, especially with all the reading you've been doing, is I'm up here telling you about knightly hierarchy and chivalry and all this boy stuff. And I'm a girl. The big question, and I get that a lot, is did the women actually fight like this, like you see a lot of times in the fantasy movies? And the answer is yes, some of them did. There were a couple orders of strictly female knights founded in the Middle Ages. In 1138 in Belgium, there was a class of knights named the Order of the Hatchet. In 1185, they were awarded the same honors, did the same thing as male knights. The other very big historically one was called the Scarlet Rose. Now, when West started to push more east and get more into India, they recruited this sect called the Scarlet Rose, which came back to England, and it became a society much like the countries. And besides that, you have, when people went on crusade, they would pack up their whole households, their whole families, their wives, their children would go with them. And a lot of times, your relatives, either male or female, would go off and fight. Unfortunately, it's not particularly well reported, and we only have the 2 founding orders of the Scarlet Rose and North Passion. And most of it comes from archaeology at women who've been buried with arms and armor. So girls, don't ever say you can't do anything the boys can do, right? Come on, clap. All right. Unfortunately, at this point, I have to hand you over to Jack.
Thank you. Lords and ladies, my name is Jack. I am, well, hopefully more interesting than her. I was born in about 1313, right after the Great Famine, right, that lovely thing called a Black Plague. Everyone was just lying there letting me take their, shiny rings and necklaces, and, well, it's what's paid for our pleasure here. I am what's known as a rogue, a thief, or some people like to call a brigand and a vagabond.
Because you are.
What I do is, instead of going face to face in full armor, hacking and slashing, I just walk behind and I'll take a purse, a ring, their dagger, or sometimes relay the shirt right off their back without them knowing. Luckily, I have not been caught. If a thief or a vagabond, something like that, was caught, the first offense was something known as branding. It would be on a part of their body you could not hide it, whether the forehead, the hand, some place that it was always visible, which told the guards this was a thief, they had gotten caught, look out for them, they're going to try again. If they got multiple offenses, they'd get thrown in the dungeons or prison. If they were really bad, they would get something known as cropping, which is, without anesthetic, getting a limb or an extremity like nose, finger, ear sliced off. It did hurt. Luckily, I have everything, all my extremities, all my fingers. I'm still looking fabulous, unlike some people. My tricks of the trade were thieves' tools, little daggers, little picks, knives, poison wires, traps like that. We didn't have to fight face to face. We were masters of subterfuge or trickery. We were employed a lot of the times by nobles, merchants, and the like in something known as the House of Games, where you would go to a neighboring kingdom, a neighboring lord's house, and find out as much information about them as possible, and sabotage their armory, their weaponry, poison their food, some way to make your employer better than who you were picking on, if you will. The few times when knives or daggers just wouldn't do it, we would have bigger weapons. Mine is a 1.5-hand double-edged longsword. It was custom made just for me, and it's got a nice, lovely big pommel on the end, for if you don't want to cut them apart, you can bash them in just like your mom would do potatoes. But it was not always fun, just because it took so much time and effort, and you were more limited to light armor, cloth like the gamison I'm wearing, or a full suit of leather, which I would be wearing if someone hadn't cut it up.
You're welcome.
Unfortunately, the most armor I have that didn't get destroyed would be the studded leather gauntlets you see me wearing, which protect the hand a little bit, and the metal studs on them give a little bit more protection and work great for smacking somebody upside the head. And, well, the little extra protection of chain, it protects a little bit against slashing, not so much against piercing, and unfortunately for somebody in my trade, it really makes it hard to sneak into somebody's house. But before I talk myself into the dungeons like I almost did last time, I will let us finish off with our lovely, lovely scribe, the hot wind beneath our wings, the fountain of knowledge, Philios, book scribbler.
Excuse me, Jack, but that name is Philios Booksworth. Now, thank you for attending, and I hope that you're ready to learn something, because my main job as a scholar is to teach, is to educate. I also belong to the same house that our lovely squire belongs to. Yes, yes. I made sure to add the lovely in. That's key. Otherwise, she might throw something at me.
Do more than throw stuff at you.
Blabbermouth, blabbermouth. Now, what I do in the house of Sir O'Doon in his castle is I have several duties. One is to take works that were written in a foreign language and translate them into the local language of Ireland, which for my time, still in the 1800s, is not yet English. There were still plenty of areas in Ireland that spoke Gaelic. That is the old Celtic language. So, being part English and raised in English background, I had to be highly educated. It took many years to learn foreign language. Today, we have workbooks. We have readily usable printing presses. During my time, the printing press in Europe was fairly new. There was a German version made in the 1480s, the Gwyndolyn press. So that allowed for books to be made on a larger scale, but printing presses from the get-go were very expensive. They cost a lot of money. It was made up of lots of mechanical parts, which were fashioned by specialists. So having a printing press meant that you had money. It meant you had prestige. It meant that you probably had to go out on campaigns to make enough money to get a printing press. Now, you may be wondering, what is a scholar, a teacher, doing with a sword, an armor, and this, which it may look like a shield, but it isn't. But I'll get to that later. Now, the reason why I'm armed and armored is scholars oftentimes had to travel to distant lands in order to procure books that they could bring back to whoever they worked for and translate them or make a copy of them. Now, my lord doesn't own a printing press, so I have to do it all by hand. Very labor-intensive, very grueling process, and there were no pencils. I could do this with black ink. I could get my hands on it, maybe indigo, maybe some green, but primarily black. It was the cheapest kind I could get my hands on. So I had to travel a lot. I have to go on the roads. I have to go to distant lands like the deserts of Arabia, North Africa, such as the famed town of Timbuktu, where there's still a massive library. I've traveled as far away as the steppes of eastern Russia in order to get a variety of knowledge. I've also traveled on the Silk Road, which was a major trade artery that went from China all the way to the Mediterranean. So there are plenty of bandits, there are plenty of brigands, such as the thief over there.
Thank you very much.
Who want to rob the caravans that I travel with, who want to commit acts of piracy against the ships that I sail on. So this is why that I carry a sword and this piece of equipment, which is called a pugnoon. Now, the name pugnoon literally means, it's an English translation of the original Latin. What it means is to punch or to attack with fists. Thus, this is a punch shield. It's less of a defensive piece of equipment and more as an offensive piece of equipment. If you look here, there's a raised thick rim on the edge. Now, this was used to punch out at your enemy. You'd strike at the throat to collapse the windpipe. You would aim for the bridge of the nose right here, which could actually cause one's skull to collapse inward. You can also punch, and you aim at your enemy's sternum, so you could collapse the rib cage into the heart, into the lungs. So this was a very nasty weapon that could deal a lot of fatal damage. Now this kind of sword, this is a shamshir, which is a type of scimitar. Scimitar being a broader name for curved swords that was used by Europeans. So a shamshir came from Persia. It was made around 900 AD. That's when they became prominent. And these could be both used by people on foot and also by the cavalrymen, who are very famed for their skills with this weapon. The advantage to this weapon is I can deal damage from a distance, and if you look with the curve, I can keep it very close to my body, step forward, and do slashing damage. This allows me to get in close to my enemy with a sword, which most swords you can't, because a straight sword, all you can do is waggle your wrist when you're up close. But with this, step in, and I get the full motion. So, very versatile blade. It's a very good sword against light armored opponents. So that is my spiel. I'm a scholar, and I'm awarded.
Duchess, the most you ever got was a paper cut. So why don't you get back here and actually show them how you fight?
Oh, sure. How about you try your sword, Squire?
Jack!
He was talking about breaking the sternum and the ribs.
You hit my
I
spine!
break swords.
Try. Is that all you've been taught? Oh wait, I forgot half the time you're working the stables. You smell worse than a chamber pot? What, a little Nick's got you down? Come on! Stay down if you know what's good for you. That's one down. Is the little pacifist next?
This is so great, Jack.
There's no think about it.
When it comes down to it, you're no more than a common thief, a criminal. I'm gonna show you some crafting. Prepare to lose your arm, perhaps a leg.
You can't even hit you.
Center. Continue.
Still feeling nimble, I see. Come on, Jack. I don't have all day.
Why, it's not like you've got a book that you're gonna write. After all, the last one was used right behind.
Center.
Yield, thief.
I would, there's just one problem. I'm not the enemy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hitting me and that for having a particularly much time. As I recall, I've still got some business with you.
Oh, what business is that?
Don't you can't fight. You sit there. The worst you ever got was a paper cut.
Lay on. What did you say about me not able to fight?
Helios? What do you say now?
I don't see any blood.
Get your foot off me. And Helios, something very specific. I said I was a paladin. I didn't say I'd be nice. To your satisfaction, my lady.
Now, if any of you have any doubt that this was fake, guarantee you can look in their armor and see a lot of gains. I also guarantee you, he probably has a broken rib, and he's probably got a bruised spine. We have actually seen them fight to the point where blood was accidentally drawn. And this is an accident when it does happen. Any injury that happens is an accident. They have been doing this for many, many years. And this is choreographed. However, the hitting of the steel and the injuries that happen are real. My lady?
My lady, in our last fight, in the place of your champion, Sir Ulrich, may I?
Since my Lord Ulrich has not been here, you shall be my champion this day. What that means is that she fights for my honor. That means every fight she wins, she fights, and any fight she wins or loses is in my name. And if she loses, it could be in her head. Continue.
Fine then, girls. In a last effort of showing what real girl power can do, boys,
Helios, I'm going to say this. Why don't you team up with Earl?
Arrogant enough. I think we need to cut her down to size.
And one, she's already that low to the ground.
where's that Jack? answer questions. We have armor. What else? What?
So if you have, ladies and gentlemen, have any questions for the MERCs, or if you wish to try on or come up and look at some of their armor, please. Jack?
How many paladins would a Queen or Duchess have?
As many as we could afford. It all depends on our wealth. My MERCs are actually
36.
36.
Charlemagne had 12 elite guards that were called paladins.
Yes.
What's the worst injury the MERCs ever had?
Oh boy.
Which one are you asking?
Alright, for me personally, I almost had my knee sliced off. I got a deep gash. Luckily it wasn't deep enough to call for stitches, but it swelled up enough a bit for grapplers. So I had a sausage pinky for about 3 months. It was on my sword hand, so worst place for it. I've also gotten a couple mild when wearing one of those helmets back there.
Worst injury I've gotten is I've been hit on my elbow. And so about 2 weeks ago. I also, just to give an idea of the permanent safety injuries.
Is this yours?
Is last season, one of our newer recruits, he kept hitting me in the elbow right here in the car. So whenever I get out like this, my elbow cracks because the tendon is not sitting the ridge.
Oh, I know. You're talking about the rivet? Yeah, well, the speed rivet popped. I should put it through.
Are you actually seriously hurt? You actually get hurt when she's making you?
I felt it, but injury-wise, no. I might have some light bruising, but that's nothing in MERCs.
Armor.
I was wearing my plate armor, so that kept me safe.
Any more questions?
Jack.
Water?
Were you guys using real swords?
Yes.
Yes. These are real. The only thing keeping these swords from hacking off limbs is we take the edges off. Besides that, yes, these are real swords. They're combat ready. If there's a real battle going on, these are the blades we take into battle.
Mm-hmm. Like I said about before with the from the impact trauma, worst injuries we've got have all been from impact, which is a very real and very historical injury.
What was it?
Okay.
Did the MERC symbol stand for anything?
Yes. It's an acronym, meaning Michigan Entertainment Renaissance Curiosity Society. This mark right here, this big X, is from the Ohm alphabet, which is one of the most ancient alphabets in recorded history. It's actually a Celtic, Gaelic, Irish, English alphabet. And this mark is the letter M.
You got one all the way in the back.
Who crafted your sword?
Who crafted your sword?
This one, my Shapeshare, I actually bought through an online armory. So you can get out ordering it on the internet. Some of our blades, such as Jack's, well, you explain Jack.
The one that I was using throughout this entire thing was originally bought from one of our friends at White Knight Armory, and when it broke, our second in command Sarver Dragon Spear actually reforged and remade it just for me.
And the 2 daggers I had been using were actually hand-forged by a blacksmith we know of in Michigan. Questions for the Duchess, perhaps? Or maybe Lord Darkle?
For the hunter,
Yes.
what do you hunt?
Pardon me?
What do you hunt?
What do I hunt? There's wolf, there's fox, rabbit. For the royals, they would prefer sable, mink, or ermine. And that sleeper they call the Duchess, that is an ermine. And it would have been a very, very expensive pelt. The reason that the smaller the rat is, because it's part of the muskrat family, the more difficult it is to tan. And the tanning would have had to have been very, very quick, the smaller the animal. So once I take the animal and I prepare it for tanning, I have to do it very, very quickly. Otherwise, believe it or not, the bacteria will get into the pelt and the fur and cause the fur to fall out of the skin. Therefore, my talent is much needed, especially to the royals.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Are these animal things real? The animal hides, are they real?
Yes.
Yes, they are. This one here is by far what I call my pride and joy. This is an Arctic wolf. It is full pawed and full clawed. And what makes it an Arctic wolf, what makes any wolf an Arctic wolf, is if the wolf is actually taken over the Arctic Circle. Otherwise, if it's on this side, it's just strictly a wolf. But it has nothing to do with the color. Some people believe that because an Arctic wolf, it needs to be white. But it has been what they call tube tanned. It was not split and sewn back together. It's actually been tubed and taken off of the skeleton. All my pelts are real, and at least when it comes to a wolf, wolves themselves are numbered, and therefore if anybody asks me, this is a legitimate wolf. It has been numbered and stamped.
Is that wolf the biggest thing you ever killed?
What, the wolf?
Yeah.
Size-wise, yes. Yep. And this one right here is a very rare fox. This is called a marble fox. And once again, because of its rarity, it would have been very, very expensive. Once again, only the royals would have had something like this because they would have been the ones that would have had the monies to buy it. And of course, I'm selling my pelts so that I can eat.
Any other questions?
We also have armor up here if you'd like to take a see full plate, try on a smaller piece of plate, see what we got here.
We also have helmets that you can try on as well.
Anybody want to try on some armor?
Line up. How many people have that?
One thing you're going to find out right away is how heavy the armor is and why I actually have chosen to only have more